Hi, my name is Aiden. I identify as a transmasc. My pronouns are he, him, they, them. I'm originally from the LA district. Growing up with my father was really difficult. He was very controlling, very religious. Not only that, but he was pretty physically and mentally abusive. Because he was so religious, he really wanted to separate me from hanging out with guys and looking like a guy. A lot of times I'd be mistaken for his son, which he was really not happy about. And so I wasn't allowed to cut my hair. And they started to almost bully me into becoming a woman, telling me that I look dirty, I look dingy, my hair is really naughty. Come time when puberty starts and I start to develop dysphoria about my own body, there wasn't any room for me to express who I wanted to be and how I wanted to be. I remember when I started to develop breasts, I would wear layers upon layers of tight sports bras to try and hide that, which was really difficult and really restricted my breathing, but I felt like I wasn't in the right body. I didn't really have any words for what it was, and I didn't realize that you could be a guy, so I kind of just suffered for a long time, eventually developing depression from the abuse at home and being bullied at school. I found joy through art, actually, spending hours upon hours just drawing, and I got really good at it. And I started drawing people who were queer and trans, and I would draw different body shapes and stuff to sort of explore the idea of difference and not just the cookie cutter female, male, bold, skinny people that people just love to draw, that, the usual figures. I really hated that because that's not how I am, that's not how my body looks. That art really helped me feel beautiful in my skin, and it really helped me cope and find a way to express myself. Well, in the beginning of high school, I dated a guy for about 3 months, and after we broke up, I found out that he was a trans FTM, and I was really shocked because the whole time we were dating, I had seen him for who he really was and who he wanted to be, and at that moment I realized that that's something that I can do. And so a couple weeks later, after I found that out, I talked to him about it and I actually thanked him, and then that very night, my twin sister cut off all my hair for me, and the next day I went to school as a guy. When I told my father I was trans, he did not take it well. He was very upset, and he definitely quoted the Bible. And he told me that I could never realistically be a guy. I couldn't biologically be a guy. And so I left, and I haven't seen them in 7 years. I left to my mother's. She's really accepting. She let me explore who I was, and I was able to join the school GSA, which I would have never been able to do if I lived with my father. And joining the GSA helped me through my transition. It connected me with resources like the LGBT Center, where I got to go to trans support groups and really feel comfortable in myself, because I dealt with, from growing up in a very negative religious space that shamed sexuality and being transgender. I was honestly homophobic and transphobic towards myself, which is something that I had to deal with for a long time after coming out. How I managed, well, I joined a support group for trans men, and there an older trans man kind of just took all the younger trans men under his wing. And I remember a distinct memory was, I think, the second day I showed up to the group, and I asked them, does anyone else hate themselves? Does anyone else hate being trans? Together they all helped me realize the beauty in being trans. Because I started high school as a girl, people knew more about me and knew that I was like the girl trying to be a guy, is what I heard. They would spray paint on the walls, no queers, like go away queers. In the school, when I report it, they just had me go and paint over it, a student to paint over the hate, which I thought was really inappropriate. And I was like, you know what, I have to go. And so I dropped out of school. I would smoke a lot of pot to cover up emotions. I also started drinking and smoking cigarettes as well, which isn't good for a 17-year-old to do. I was really depressed, and I actually did start self-harming, and there was a part of me that really wanted to give up on life and on being trans and to just either be the person that everyone else wanted me to be to make my life easier and due to the way other people were affecting me, or to end my life to be at peace. Luckily, you know, with the support groups and all that, I was able to manage through that pain. And one day after smoking, I realized, you know, is this what I want to do with the rest of my life? I just want to sun down drugs to feel a temporary satisfaction. And that's not what I wanted to do. And so I quit doing that, and I got back into high school and I finished it, and I was able to go to college after that. It was hard. There was a lot of people who were very confused about what I was. A lot of people would purposely misgender me, ask me very uncomfortable questions, fetishize me. A lot of the males would fetishize me, which was very uncomfortable, and it made it really hard for me to go to school, and I would end up dropping classes or having breakdowns in class, and I would just sit on the floor and cry for hours and hours. And throughout that time going to college, I was also trying to get top surgery, which was really difficult for me since I did transition at a young age. And even though I was 18, they didn't trust that I was making the right decision for myself, is what they would tell me. They didn't want to be responsible for if I decided to go back to the gender I was at birth. They made it their decision, not mine. The first time I felt affirmed was a couple months after my top surgery. I noticed that people were treating me more like they would a cis man, and I was definitely being misgendered less, and that really helped me gain back confidence. I feel like, you know, I really wish I could have gotten top surgery sooner so that I could have felt this way at an earlier age. Yes, the LGBT community does include people who are trans, but a lot of the times they don't respect people who are trans. I would always get a lot of shit from the cis guys not considering me to be a gay man. They just saw me as like a dyke, which is some words that I have been called. So I feel like, you know, if there was a transgender district, I probably would have gone there a lot more than I would have the LGBT center. And it probably would have helped me a lot more and helped me like be less depressed, because it was very triggering and depressing and disheartening to realize that just because we're all queer doesn't mean we're all accepting. Happiness for me actually would be freedom to express myself, and the freedom to not be controlled, to be myself and to live for myself.